Hello, everyone. Great to be with you again this week. This is Father Mark. I now call myself your virtual pastor. Seeing as this form of communication is the new way we can relate to one another, I think it's nice to stop in every once in a while and just see how everyone is doing. We're surviving over here, trying to determine our new normal. I've been talking with a lot of our households and how they are negotiating this new and somewhat challenging time in their lives, and hearing a lot of stories about how they're negotiating their house space. Everybody's now home, either working or not working, or all living under the same roof. And who has to go downstairs to the basement to have their time to have their tears, and who has to be up in this room because they can't be around anybody else, and all the negotiation that's going on in these new and challenging times in which we live. But I was also thinking back to other points in history, going back to the times of folks who lived out in the desolation of the Midwest. Can you imagine being in a small country little home, isolated from everyone, living on this big ranch, covered in by snow and blizzard conditions, and you have to go out and you have to take care of your animals and your livelihood. And you live within this house, 3 or 4 people living in this house that maybe has an upstairs loft and a downstairs living room. How did they possibly negotiate the isolation of that space for those long and hard winters? I'm sure they had to look within themselves and find some resources that allowed them to then carry on with the business of life, and to do it with a certain amount of joy and hope. Otherwise, they would never have endured it and never worked their way through it. So what resources are we relying on to get us through our new normal? And I know as we go through change and as we encounter new things, we have to let that all sift through. So it's very natural and normal to go through a period of depression, of question, of doubt, of wonder. There's only so many closets you can clean, so many cabinets to look through. After a while, you look around and you say, okay, what am I going to do today? And the tendency is maybe to just loaf around, staying in your pajamas longer than you should be, maybe not really getting motivated to do anything new, and finding yourself becoming very dark. A friend of mine years ago, and this goes back many years, but I'll never forget the phrase, and I refer to it often. He looked at me one day and he says, "Stop wallowing in the mire of self-pity and do something about it." And I said, you're right. And so when we change our axes, when we change our attitude, we realize that the struggles and the trials that we're asked to endure really are not all that hard at the end of the day. Talking to an older parishioner the other day who went through all of the challenges of World War II. And I says to her, "How are you doing?" "Oh, Father, I'm fine." She says, "This is nothing compared to what we went through when we went through the challenges of World War II." And you think back to those times. Of course, I wasn't alive then. But you hear the stories of folks who had to do without a lot of the basic necessities. They had to change their normal. And they lived through it and became the greatest generation to then give seed to the future of our country and our world. And so there is good that can happen, even when we are feeling somewhat empty and lost. This weekend's gospel passage of raising Lazarus from the dead, Jesus looks at that whole situation. What does he say? "Lazarus, get out. Come on out." And so he's looking at you and he's looking at us and he's saying, "Come out." Now, we may not be able to physically go out because we have to obviously be very prudent about that, but we can certainly spiritually and emotionally come out and find that joy and the hope of the new normal. And maybe it takes turning off the news for a while. We get so preoccupied with that negative stuff of what we can't do. Let's start focusing on what we can do and finding that positive energy, that positive resource to get through these next few weeks with as much grace and ease as possible. If we can do that, we may discover something about ourselves that we didn't know existed before. We may find ourselves relating to others in ways that we didn't relate to before. Go outside, take a walk if you can. Do something different. Call somebody who you haven't talked to in a while. Put an agenda together for your day so that you have something to look forward to, something positive to encounter, something that you can do to make you feel good about yourself. Because remember, at the basis of who we are is our spiritual self. God is saying, "I'm giving you the joy. I'm giving you the hope. You have a relationship with me. Don't worry. You're not going to fall apart. The sky is not going to permanently fall down upon you. It'll be okay. And there's always that new idea, new tomorrow to look forward to. On that end, I know that many of our folks do live alone, and you may be feeling a little bit isolated. Maybe you know of a neighbor down the street that lives alone and is isolated. If you know of anybody who would like to have a phone call or a contact from somebody here at the parish, just a familiar, hey, how you doing type of a interaction, please call the parish office. The information will be on the screen shortly or at the end of this little video chat. And we will gladly try to find somebody to reach out and make that phone call just to keep touch and to keep base. You know, it's nice to have these relationships where we're feeling connected. The website is an important place to go to. You're going to find all kinds of stuff there for Holy Week and Easter. This Sunday's Mass will be live streamed. We will distribute Palm on Palm Sunday. You'll find directions for that there as well. And as we go along and discover this new normal and this new way of being a virtual parish, the traditional way works as well. You know, that we do have this profound connection with one another and with our God. And that sees us through any dark moment, gets us through any challenge, and always finds us at the other end of a bright new day. God bless you. You have my love, you have my prayers, and you have my blessings. We'll talk soon.